I appear to be revitalized by delight. We could say, allow delight. Be delighted by delight. Delight is consciousness. Pure consciousness is delight. So true nature, thus, is delightful. In Genesis, it was stated, and God said, "Let there be light." Delight is true nature. True nature is delightful. Ramana Maharshi said at one time, "Happiness is your true nature. It is not wrong to desire it." Adi Shankara as well. Each thing tends to move towards its true nature. I always desire happiness, which is my true nature. So there's nothing wrong with being delighted. The individual, through identifications, or we could say the illusions of I, thinks that delight is not true nature, which is untrue. Delight is consciousness. And thus we can experience delight through the single eye of God, knowing no evil, as a child that can only witness God everywhere. See, all that matters is the relationship with God, as from the sure foundation of God. Everything appears ideally automatically in, on, and as the outer appearances of God, from the single eye. I and the Father are one, but my Father is greater than I, and thus I can only witness greater degrees of delight or happiness, appearing more and more so each moment. Today's conversation is also inspired by Lessons in Truth by H. Emily Cady. We will be discussing Lesson 6, which is on faith. For the previous discussions on Lesson 1 to 5, I'll link in the description to those videos. She says, referring to Hebrews 11:1, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. In other words, she says, faith takes right hold of the substance of the things desired and brings into the world of evidence the things that before were not seen. True nature is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, prosperity. The individual desires to experience love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, prosperity in, on, and as the outer appearances of God, as there's only God. Everything else is an illusion, unreal. We can say illusions of I, as we discussed recently. I'll link in the description to that video. She says, further speaking of faith, the writer said, things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Hebrews 11:3. As mentioned, only God exists. Only God is real. And as I and the Father are one, yet the Father is greater than I, can I allow the witnessing to occur of greater degrees of delight? Love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, prosperity, appearing more and more so each moment. This is walking by faith. She says, in some way then, we understand that whatever we want is in this surrounding invisible substance, and faith is the power that can bring it into actuality to us. Faith does not depend on physical facts or the evidence of the senses. And this makes sense because the physical facts or the evidence of the senses is a result of past imaginal activity identified with that is playing out. Past imaginal activity. Either imaginal activity from the premise of truth, knowing that I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, prosperity, true nature, or from the identification to the illusions of I, separation from God, true nature of God being love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, prosperity, identification with the illusions of I result in the appearances of separation from God, true nature. She says faith does not depend on physical facts or on the evidence of the senses because it is born of intuition, or the spirit of truth, ever living at the center of our being. Its action is infinitely higher than that of intellectual conclusions. It is founded on truth, as intellectual conclusions is a result of reverse engineering the appearances, tracking it to what appears as causes. There's only one cause: I am. Exodus 3:14. And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you. She said the Nazarene recognized the unchangeable truth that in the unseen, the supply of every want awaits demand. When he said, Ask and ye shall receive, John 16:24, he was simply stating an unalterable truth. So it's an illusion of I to suggest otherwise. He knew that the instant we ask or desire, for asking is desire expressed, we touch a secret spring which starts on its way towards us the good we want. He knew that there need not be any coaxing or pleading about it, that our asking is simply our complying with an unfailing law which is bound to work. There is no escape from it. Asking and receiving are the two ends of the same thing. There is a very close connection between them. Asking springs from desire to possess some good. So as mentioned, all the individual truly desires is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, prosperity. Thus, true nature. Everything else is an illusion. Untrue. Illusions of I, seeming to suggest separation from God, which is an illusion, as I and the Father are one. Yet the Father is greater than I. And thus I can witness greater degrees of happiness, appearing more and more so each moment, as the Father is greater than I, and God is happiness. Happiness is true nature. Each thing, as Adi Shankara said, tends to move towards its own nature. I always desire happiness, which is my true nature. So again, as mentioned, all that matters is the relationship with God. Is it one of separation from happiness, which is an illusion, illusions of I? We release those identifications. And as we do, everything appears ideally, automatically in, on, and as the outer appearances of God. So an example would be, I remember when I bought my first house, which I moved in 2007. 2004, I read Think and Grow Rich, and I was in $50,000 debt. I applied the principles in the book, and I got out of $50,000 debt. Moved up in my corporate career, started making more money, and also saved up enough money to buy my first house. And then the desire arose. I wanted to buy a house. Yet I wanted a certain house. I remember I used to go visit my friend, and on his street there were these houses, and they looked a particular way. And I remember saying to myself, this is the kind of house that I would like to live in. If I was going to buy a house, because I had no desire to buy a house, I said, if I had a desire to buy a house, it would certainly be one of these. And so a few years later, interestingly, the desire arose. I actually went and did a search online for houses for sale in the area that I wanted to live in. And then I found this one house, which was all right. Wasn't something I was extremely excited about. So I ended up meeting the listing agent of this house. And he said to me, have you ever bought a house before? And I said, no. He said, I'll show you this house. We can take a look if you like it. So we went to go see the house, and I actually didn't like it. And then we were walking down the street, and then I saw another house for sale. It looked exactly like those houses that I mentioned earlier. And I said, I want to see that house. He said, that house is beyond the price range that you wanted. And so I said, okay, totally fine. Let's go take a look at it. So I went to go look at this house with him, and it was exactly what I wanted, although it was at a higher price point. Now, we know that every desire is fulfilled, as in if I had a desire for this house, this was the house, then it was fulfilled. Some way, somehow, it was going to happen that I was going to own this house. And sure enough, a few months later, I ended up buying this house. So I would like to run through some of the beliefs that showed up, the untrue beliefs that I had the opportunity to release identification to, the illusions of I, as we discuss. Why do these illusions of I occur? Why did they appear? Well, for whatever the reason, the individual had formed conclusions about themselves and their relationship with God, which is untrue, as a result of thinking in relation to circumstances in their life, throughout their life, thinking patterns that were not from the premise of truth, that the individual became identified with, which formed beliefs. So she says, before ever you are conscious of any lack, of any desire for more happiness, for fullness of joy, the great Father-Mother heart has desired them for you. So part of the relationship with God is a healthy relationship with desire. Knowing that the individual truly desires love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, prosperity, and those areas are divine inheritance. She says, it is God in you desiring them that you feel and think it is only yourself, separate from God, desiring them. This is key. It is God in you desiring them that you feel and think it's only yourself, separate from God, desiring them. Separation between I and I am is an illusion. As mentioned, I and the Father are one. The Father is I am. Awareness of being. Awareness of being what? Am I aware of being that which I desire to be? Love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, prosperity, indicating no separation from God? Or am I aware of what I imagine as illusory beliefs, the illusions of I? Some examples would be as follows. Illusions of I, untrue beliefs. I can't find the right house because I am not lucky. This has nothing to do with luck. This is divine inheritance. What I desire, I have. As God is the source of love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, prosperity. So I desire these areas. As she said, it is God in you desiring them that you feel. And the individual may think it's only themselves, separate from God, desiring them, which is untrue. So we know it's an untrue statement to say, I can't find the right house because I am not lucky. Or I can't understand the buying process because I am not knowledgeable. And so that was my first house. The buying process was taken care of, automatic. Everything was falling into place as I truly desired that house. And so I noticed this with many areas of my life. Anytime I truly desire something, everything seems to fall in place. People appear, information appears naturally. Everything seems to align harmoniously so I can experience what I desire. It is only if I try to force identification to untrue beliefs, which I may confuse as desire, which is not from the premise of love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, prosperity, that generates unnecessary suffering, trying to force and control and manipulate. That is all a result of identification to untrue beliefs, the illusions of I. Number 3, I can't negotiate a good price because I am not assertive. What was interesting about this is I started to notice my assertiveness, we could say. On the final stages of negotiating to close the deal, we were going back and forth on price and details. I said, could we meet in one place? Can we end up in a particular spot where there's a meeting room, where the agent that is selling that home is there with their clients, the owners of the property? Then you and I can be in another room, and then we can have a middle room that we all meet in, and so we can go back and forth between the rooms. That way we don't have to go back and forth via email and phone calls, which that thought was completely natural. So we could say then I was being assertive at that particular point. So he actually agreed. He said, this is not something that we normally do, but let's do it. So we ended up meeting at a place, and sure enough, within 20 minutes or 30 minutes, we had closed the deal, and everything was ideally harmonious with both parties. So much so that the woman that owned the property, she ended up actually teaching me about the gardening and the landscaping and how everything was set up. And it was a wonderful relationship. We actually made the process easier for her and actually everybody that was involved with it. So the I can't negotiate a good price because I am not assertive is an untrue belief. God does everything. Number 4, I can't handle the paperwork because I am not organized. Again, never had this experiences before buying a house, yet everything went smoothly as I realized that what I desire, I already have. As in, there's no separation between God desiring it, who takes care of everything for me, animates all that appears, and appears as all that is animated to reveal the prosperity, love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Another one is, I can't handle the stress of buying a house because I am not resilient. So it is only illusions of I, the individual trying to force, control, that is generating the stress of buying a house. And this is actually something I had learned from Think and Grow Rich, because in there he had said something like, if you believe that money is the result of hard work alone, perish the thought. And it was true. Getting out of $50,000 debt, buying my first house, was not a result of hard work. It was a result of allowing things to happen, the opportunities to align, and genuinely enjoying each aspect of the bridge of incidents, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual congruence on what appears as the journey to manifesting that particular outcome from a state of flow rather than a state of force. State of force, beliefs of force are a result of identification, illusions of I, untrue beliefs generating that unnecessary stress. Again, no shame and condemnation. Be still, release those identifications to allow the inspiration to arise, intuition to arise, things to happen, allow it to happen. Number 6, I can't move out of my current home because I am too attached. This is also an illusion of I. I am transcendent to attachment. Only I can appear to be attached, which is an illusion of I. So this one I didn't particularly have, number 6, but these other ones got released on the journey to manifesting the vision, which is why I always say, any definite chief aim, any vision that the individual commits to on the journey to manifesting the vision, the illusions of I are brought to awareness to be released. She says, the only way God has of letting us know God's infinite supply and God's desire to make it ours is for God to push gently on the divine spark living within each of us. God wants you to be strong, self-efficient, to have more power and dominion over all before you. So God quietly and silently pushes a little more of God's desire into the center of your being. God enlarges, so to speak, your real self, and at once you become conscious of new desire to be bigger, grander, stronger. If God had not pushed at the center of your being first, you would never have thought of new desires, but would have remained perfectly content as you were. As we discussed in Sunday's video, which I titled, Everything is Love Pushed Out. We could say love pushed out, happiness pushed out, peace pushed out, fulfillment pushed out, prosperity pushed out, true nature. She says, you think you want better health, more love, a brighter, more cheerful home, all your very own. In short, you want less evil or no evil and more good in your life. We spoke about this in one of the recent chapters. I'll link in the description to the previous discussions of this particular book, Releasing the Illusion of Evil. She says, this is only God pushing at the inner door of your being, as if God were saying, my child, let me in. I want to give you all good, that you may be more comfortable and happy. Remember this, desire in the heart for anything is God's sure promise sent beforehand to indicate that it is yours already in the limitless realm of supply, and whatever you want, you can have for the taking. Knowing divine law and obeying it, we can forever rest from all anxiety, all fear, for thou openest thy hand and satisfiest the desire of every living thing. Psalm 145:16. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. You could say, I appear only to be delighted by delight. Delight is consciousness, as God said, let there be light. Thus there's only delight, appearing more and more so through the single eye, the eye of God, appearing as greater forms of happiness, peace, love, prosperity, fulfillment, in, on, and as the outer appearances of God. As there's only God is real. And as I and the Father are one, yet the Father is greater than I witness more so each moment, greater appearances of happiness, love, peace, bliss, fulfillment, in, on, and as the outer appearances of God, in increasing frequency on a continuous basis as far as the senses perceive. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.